You stand at the shore of life's vast ocean, exhausted by the ceaseless waves. All your life you've been told to swim harder, to fight against the currents of circumstance. You've battled storms of uncertainty and tides of change, muscles weary from striving. Yet in this quiet pre-dawn moment, as silver moonlight yields to soft dawn, you notice something new. Beneath the surface, turmoil runs a gentle, quiet current. It's subtle but steady, a flow of power without force, carrying everything that drifts in harmony with it. In your heart, a truth begins to whisper. Maybe the path forward isn't against the current, but with it. Feel the early breeze on your skin and listen to the hush before sunrise. There is a sacred stillness here. The air itself seems to breathe with you, inviting you to release your burden. You realize you're not alone. The entire ocean moves with an unseen intelligence. The waves that once slammed against you now start to make sense. They were never meant to be fought, only understood. A calm washes over you. You step into the cool water, and instead of resisting, you let go. Instantly, the quiet current takes you by the hand like an old friend. As you float, carried effortlessly toward the glowing horizon, tears of relief well up, not from sadness, but from the profound relief of surrender. In surrendering, you haven't lost yourself at all. You've rediscovered a deeper strength, one that doesn't tire or break. Welcome to the quiet current. This is the gentle power you've sensed, the one that has been patiently waiting beneath life's noise. It's the soft voice in the silence saying, there is another way. It's the river beneath the river, the force that carries seeds to soil, that guides birds on the wind, that allows nature to accomplish everything without hurry. In this opening breath of our journey, allow these words to wash over you. Let your defenses soften and your heart open. There is nothing you must force or prove right now. Simply listen, feel, and know that a current of grace runs through your life, ready to carry you. The struggles, the resistance, the constant paddling upstream. Those days belong to the past. A new chapter is dawning, one written in the language of ease, trust, and quiet transformation. Here, in this sacred pause, you have already begun to change. With each word, you drift further from the old shores of stress and closer to the embrace of the present. An almost forgotten feeling bubbles up from within. Is it hope? Is it freedom? Perhaps it is the recognition that you are, and have always been, part of something larger, a current that connects all things. Your heartbeat synchronizes with the gentle rhythm of the tide. A warmth spreads in your chest as you imagine what life could be like if you stop thrashing and start floating. In this state between waking and dream, let yourself smile softly. You are safe. You are held. The quiet current is real, and it is here to carry you home. Introduction. What if the power to transform your life has been quietly within you all along? What if true strength is not found in struggle, but in surrender? In this introduction, we explore the meeting point of science and spirit, a place where ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience both say the same thing. There is tremendous power in letting go. In our modern world that glorifies constant hustle, many of us have been caught in a cycle of effort and exhaustion. We push ourselves to the brink, equating busyness with worth, only to find our hearts and minds perpetually restless. Stress levels have skyrocketed. Society is facing epidemics of anxiety and burnout. Yet quietly, a countercurrent is growing. People are rediscovering a truth known to sages and mystics across time. Doing less can accomplish more. This is not a lazy fantasy or wishful thinking. It is increasingly supported by scientific insight. Researchers in psychology have found that chronic overthinking and forcing outcomes can backfire. For instance, studies show that persistent rumination, replaying worries and trying to mentally control everything, elevates cortisol, the stress hormone, leading to impaired immune function and even accelerated aging. Clinging too tightly to our plans and fears doesn't make us safer. It actually makes us suffer. In contrast, practices of mindfulness and acceptance, essentially allowing thoughts and feelings to pass without fighting them, can calm the mind's overactivity. Neuroscientists have observed that during states of mindful surrender, activity in the brain's default mode network, the part linked to self-critical rumination, actually decreases. In that quieter mental space, the brain can form new, healthier neural pathways and creative connections. In simpler terms, when you stop trying to force every answer, your mind can finally hear the solutions that were whispering all along. On the spiritual side, wisdom traditions have echoed this message for millennia. Taoist philosophy speaks of Wu Wei, or effortless action, the art of doing by not doing. The ancient sage Lao Tzu taught that the greatest leaders and creators move with the natural flow of life rather than against it. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished, he reminds us. This isn't just poetic metaphor, it's observable in the world. Consider how a tree grows. It doesn't strain or strive, yet through seasons it steadily reaches its full height. Consider how water behaves. It yields and bends around obstacles, and yet water can carve canyons and polish stone, achieving over time what force alone never could. Even modern icons have discovered this truth. Martial artist and philosopher Bruce Lee advised us to be like water, to adapt to the shape of each moment and flow with it, never clashing unnecessarily. Water's quiet current is its strength. It moves with confidence and persistence, but without aggression. Blending these perspectives, a picture emerges. Relaxation is not stagnation, and surrender is not defeat. When we speak of surrender here, we do not mean giving up on life. We mean giving in to life's deeper intelligence, trusting that there are forces at work beyond our conscious control, and that by aligning with them, we can co-create outcomes more magnificent than those born from sheer willpower. Far from making us passive, this kind of surrender empowers us. As spiritual teacher Muji put it, surrender is not a weakness, it is strength. It takes tremendous strength to surrender to life's unfolding. Indeed, choosing to trust the process of life requires courage. It means we stop grasping at every possible plan and instead open our hands to receive what is meant for us. This audiobook, The Quiet Current, invites you to explore how allowing, trust, and inner stillness can revolutionize the way you manifest your dreams. Over the following sections, we will delve into core principles that illuminate why allowing brings faster results than forcing, why trust opens doors no amount of struggle could unlock, and how silence and stillness can become your most magnetic tools for transformation. We'll bridge esoteric concepts with practical neuroscience. For example, how cultivating positive emotions like gratitude literally broadens your mind's capacity to see opportunities, a phenomenon psychologists call the broaden and build effect, or how the reticular activating system in your brain filters your perception according to your dominant intentions. In other words, when you set a clear vision and then calmly allow it, your brain's biology starts working quietly in the background to alert you to the people, ideas, and synchronicities that will help you. A real-world underpinning for what some call the law of attraction. Conversely, when you're anxious and forcing, that same system narrows your focus to problems and threats, potentially causing you to miss the very opportunities you seek. On our journey, you will also hear stories of transformation, original parables of individuals who discovered the power of letting go. Through their eyes, you'll witness how a subtle shift from resistance to acceptance changed the entire trajectory of their lives. These stories aren't just feel-good fables. They carry encoded lessons for your subconscious, showing rather than telling how the quiet current works in action. By listening to them in a relaxed state, you allow their wisdom to seep deeper than logical understanding into the realm of inner knowing. Finally, we will explore sacred practices, daily rituals, and exercises to help you integrate the principles into your own life. These range from moments of daily silence and reflection to creative visualization techniques backed by both mystics and sports psychologists, to journaling methods that can rewire your mindset toward positivity and trust. Think of these practices as gentle oars that help you steer into the current when old habits of fear threaten to pull you back to shore. They are simple yet profound ways to reinforce the beliefs and feelings that support effortless manifestation. As you listen, remember that this is a participatory journey. Even though you might be lying down or closing your eyes, your heart and mind are actively learning a new way of being. You may notice a deep resonance with some ideas, or perhaps some resistance bubbling up with others. All of that is okay. Everything you feel is part of the process of growth. Approach this experience with a sense of curiosity and compassion toward yourself. There is no right or wrong way to receive these words. Simply let them flow through you. Take a slow, easy breath right now. Feel the air enter your lungs and then release it without effort. In that single breath, you have enacted the essence of the quiet current. Receive, release. You did not force the breath in, nor did you grasp at it as it left. And yet, life happened through you. This is the balance we are remembering, the dance between active creation and graceful allowing. With that spirit, let us move into the core principles of the quiet current. Each principle is a facet of the same truth, a stepping stone in the river. As you absorb them, you are awakening an innate part of you that has perhaps been quieted by the modern pace of life. Now is its time to rise. Now is your time to reclaim the gentle power that has been yours all along. Surrender and non-resistance. Surrender is the heart of the quiet current. In our culture, surrender is often misunderstood. It can sound like giving up or showing weakness. But in truth, surrender in this context is an act of courageous acceptance. It means choosing to stop resisting what is, so that you can respond to life from a place of clarity and peace. Picture yourself caught in a river's sudden current. The instinct might be to panic and fight against the water, but that only exhausts you and increases the risk of drowning. If instead you take a deep breath and allow the water to carry you, while keeping your head up and eyes open, you find you can float to safety. Likewise, when life sweeps you into change or challenge, non-resistance lets you find the flow within the chaos. As the saying goes, what you resist persists. By contrast, what you embrace can transform. Surrender is not about inaction or apathy. It's about smart, aligned action. It's the difference between banging futilely on a locked door versus stepping back to notice an open window nearby. When you stop obsessing over one closed route, you create space for creative solutions to appear. In physics, we have the concept of the path of least resistance. Energy naturally seeks the easiest route. Water flows downhill through the softest soil, carving its path patiently. Electricity travels through the route of least electrical resistance. Your life energy works the same way. If you constantly put up walls of fear, control, or doubt, you create high resistance that your own dreams struggle to move through. Surrender means lowering those barriers. It's like opening a dam to let the river run. Suddenly, things that seemed impossible start moving forward with ease. It takes inner strength to surrender in this way. As Zen teacher Eckhart Tolle notes, surrender is not weakness. There is great strength in it. It means having the humility to admit that you don't have to do it all alone, and the universe might know how to support you if you allow it. Consider a time when you held on to a plan or relationship that was clearly not working. The more you clung, the more it hurt. But once you finally released your tight grip, perhaps an even better opportunity or path presented itself, one you couldn't have seen while you were tensed up in resistance. By relinquishing control over the uncontrollable, you didn't lose. You gained relief, sanity, and a new direction. Even our bodies teach us the power of non-resistance. If you've ever practiced martial arts like Aikido, you learn to use the opponent's force to your advantage by redirecting it rather than meeting it head-on. In a similar way, life's challenges can be redirected or transmuted when we approach them with openness. Instead of thinking, "This shouldn't be happening," try asking, "How can I flow with what is happening?" This simple shift moves you from contraction to expansion. Suddenly, what was a roadblock might reveal itself as a stepping stone or a detour to something valuable. Non-resistance also applies internally. How often do we fight our own feelings? We might resist sadness, anger, or fear, labeling them bad and trying to suppress them. Surrender invites us to allow those emotions to move through without identifying with them. If a wave of anxiety comes, instead of saying, "I must not feel this," try surrendering to the sensation. Breathe, observe it as energy in the body, and watch it change and eventually flow out. Paradoxically, when you stop resisting an emotion, it passes more quickly and leaves behind insight or peace. This is the basis of many mindfulness practices. By not resisting our inner experience, we actually find greater emotional balance. Remember, surrender is a choice, not an accident. It's an empowered decision to align with reality rather than fight it. Life will always have uncontrollable elements, other people's actions, nature, timing, etc. By surrendering to what you cannot change, you reclaim your energy to focus on what you can change, namely, your own perspective and actions. The quiet current of life is always moving. When you surrender, you step into that current and let it guide you rather than exhausting yourself swimming upstream. In that surrender, there is profound peace. In that peace, true power arises, allowing and acceptance. Closely tied to surrender is the principle of allowing. If surrender is the moment of releasing resistance, allowing is the continuous practice of keeping your heart and mind open to whatever unfolds. It's about saying yes to the present moment, even if it isn't what you expected. Allowing doesn't mean you endorse negative events or passively tolerate injustice. It means you acknowledge reality before you choose how to respond. It's the opposite of denial. By allowing what is, you position yourself to transform it or adapt with grace. Think of life as a river again. There will be bends and rocks and rapids. Allowing means you don't stiffen your body and try to resist every twist. You lean into the curves. You let the water carry you around obstacles, trusting that calm stretches lie ahead. In practical terms, allowing might look like this. You wake up and plan a productive day, but then your child falls ill or a big client cancels a contract. You feel the disappointment or worry, naturally. But instead of erupting in frustration or spiraling into despair, you take a deep breath. You remind yourself to allow. Okay, this is what's happening now. Let's see what I can do. Maybe you reschedule meetings and end up spending precious quiet time with your child, and in that tender moment, a new idea for your business comes to you spontaneously. By allowing the interruption, you flowed with reality and found a hidden benefit. If you had resisted and forced your original plan at all costs, you'd be miserable and likely ineffective anyway. Allowance is powerful because it aligns you with the law of least effort. When you accept conditions as they are, you can harness them rather than waste energy pretending they're different. It's like sailing. A skilled sailor doesn't curse the wind for blowing the wrong way. They adjust their sails to use the wind that's present to reach their destination. In life, when challenges arise, allowing helps you swiftly recalibrate. Often, you'll find that what you thought was a setback is actually a detour leading to a better path. Many people can recall a scenario where fate or a change outside their control forced them in a new direction, only to later realize it was a blessing in disguise. By practicing acceptance in the moment, you suffer less and remain open-eyed enough to catch those silver linings. On a deeper level, allowing is about self-acceptance as well. It means allowing yourself to be human, to not be perfect, to not have every answer. This self-compassion creates an inner environment where growth becomes possible. When you allow yourself to make mistakes or to feel unsure, you paradoxically become more effective because you're not wasting energy wearing a mask of invincibility. You can actually hear your own needs and intuition better. From a neuroscience perspective, self-acceptance and positive emotion broaden our perspective, as studies by Barbara Fredrickson have shown. When we feel at peace, our minds literally open up to new ideas and solutions. In contrast, when we are harshly judging ourselves or our situation, our mind constricts into tunnel vision. It's also worth noting that allowing is a key to manifestation. This may sound mystical, but think of it in simple terms of communication. If you constantly tell the universe, "No, not this, it should be different," you send a conflicted message. But if you say, "Yes, this is where I am. Now I kindly ask for guidance or improvement," you're in a humble, receptive state. In that openness, you're more likely to notice the synchronicities or subtle nudges that help you along. Many spiritual teachers assert that when you allow and feel grateful, even in small ways for the present, you attract more to be grateful for. Even if one doesn't subscribe to a mystical view, practically, a person who isn't fighting reality will have more peace of mind to take constructive action and notice opportunities. One of the simplest ways to practice allowing is through language. Pay attention to the mental commentary you have about life's events. When something unwanted happens, do you find yourself saying, "This is awful, it shouldn't be"? Try gently shifting that thought to, "All right, this is what it is right now. I allow it to be so. What can I do or learn from here?" This doesn't magically fix the issue, but it fixes your relationship to the issue. You move from victimhood to empowerment. You might pair this with a physical gesture, like opening your palms or taking a receptive posture, as a reminder to stay open. Allowing also applies to receiving good. Some of us, oddly enough, resist positive experiences or help because we feel we must earn everything or maintain control. Allow life's blessings in. When someone offers kindness, say yes. When an opportunity appears that feels right, don't overthink it to death. Allow yourself to go for it, even if it wasn't part of your original plan. The quiet current often brings us gifts in unexpected ways. Our job is to allow those gifts into our lives without letting the analytical mind shut them out with doubt or pride. In summary, allowing is the practice of maintaining an attitude of yes to life in its unpredictable unfolding. By embracing reality with acceptance, you reduce needless friction and discover that life frequently works out in better ways than you imagined. As you allow, you conserve your energy for growth and creation, surfing the waves of change instead of being tumbled by them. This is the gentle, ongoing art of living in harmony with the quiet current. Deep trust in life. If surrender and allowing set the stage, trust is the glue that holds you in that new way of being. Trust is like the deep undercurrent beneath the surface of surrender. It's a conviction, felt in the heart, that life is on your side, that the universe is not a random, chaotic force out to get you, but a wise system that responds to your inner state. To trust in life is to believe that as one door closes, another will open, that even in darkness, a light is glowing ahead, that you are supported in seen and unseen ways. Cultivating trust can be challenging if you've been through hardship or if you're naturally very analytical. Trust asks for a bit of a leap of faith, but the beauty of it is that it's self-reinforcing. The more you trust, the more you'll find evidence that validates your trust. This evidence can come as what some call luck or coincidence, a chance meeting that furthers your career, a piece of information that arrives at just the right time, a gut feeling that leads you to avoid a problem or seize an opportunity. Were these purely random? Or did your trust open you up to noticing and receiving them? Psychologically, when you trust that things will work out, you tend to stay calmer and more optimistic, which means you keep your mind open to possibilities rather than shutting down in stress. In fact, studies have indicated that when we let go of frantic worry and trust more, our brains shift from a reactive state, high beta waves, fight or flight mode, to more relaxed alpha and theta patterns, which are associated with creativity, learning, and intuition. In that relaxed state, we literally perceive more and think more clearly. So in a very real sense, trust opens doors that effort alone cannot, because it primes you to see and walk through the doors that were there all along. What does it mean to trust in practical terms? It doesn't mean you sit on the couch and do nothing, waiting for the universe to hand-deliver your dreams. Instead, trust is about the attitude with which you act. For example, say you're starting a new business. You do the work, you build the product, you put in the hours, but you also carry a trusting mindset. You trust that the right customers will find value in it, that challenges will teach you and not destroy you, and that even if your plan A fails, it might lead you to a better plan B. With this trust, your tone when pitching is more confident and authentic, because you're not desperate. You truly believe there's value to come. Customers sense that ease. Partners find you reliable because you don't panic at every hiccup. You navigate with poise. Over time, this generally leads to better outcomes. And crucially, even when setbacks happen, because life will still life, your trust helps you recover faster. You might say, "All right, this partnership fell through for reasons I don't understand yet. I choose to trust there's something better coming or a lesson here I need." That keeps your spirit buoyant and resilient. so you continue forward and eventually meet that next opportunity. Trust also has a spiritual dimension. Many find trust through the belief in a higher power or a connected consciousness. Whether you call it God, the universe, spirit, or simply the intelligent order of nature, trusting that there is a greater wholeness guiding events can be deeply comforting. It's knowing that there's more to reality than random chaos, that your life has meaning and purpose, even if you can't see the full picture yet. This kind of trust often grows from personal experience. Times when you felt carried by something greater, or when an unlikely sequence of events worked out in your favor. Reflect on your life. Can you find at least one moment when things clicked perfectly or help arrived unexpectedly? Even small instances count. These are your trust touchstones. Revisit them when doubt creeps in. They remind you that something's got my back. Another aspect of trust is self-trust. Believing in life's goodness goes hand in hand with believing in your own capability and intuition. As you practice trusting life with the big picture, you also practice trusting yourself with the choices and actions you take. Trust that you will make the right decision when it needs to be made, and if it turns out wrong, trust you'll learn from it and adapt. Self-trust grows the more you listen to your inner voice, those gut feelings or quiet hunches. The more you act on your authentic impulses, aligned with love and truth, the more you see positive feedback, and the more your confidence in yourself strengthens. It becomes a virtuous circle. Trust in life fosters courage to act. Taking action yields results and wisdom. That in turn deepens your trust further. Now, it's normal that trust can waver. We're human. In moments of crisis or when faced with the unknown, even the most spiritual person might feel doubt or fear. That's okay. Trust doesn't mean never feeling uncertainty. It means choosing to believe in a positive outcome despite uncertainty. It's something you nurture like a small flame. When you notice worry or mistrust, you can pause and gently remind yourself, I choose to trust that I'm guided. I choose to trust that things are working out for my highest good. This isn't a one-time decision, but a daily, even moment-to-moment practice. Over time, trust can become your default mode. One powerful exercise is affirming trust each morning. As you wake, before the mind gets busy, you might say, Today, I trust the process of life. I trust that I am exactly where I need to be, and everything that happens is for my growth. Such affirmations set the tone for the day. You begin with an energy of confidence in life's support. Even if challenges arise, you've primed yourself to meet them with a different perspective. Ultimately, deep trust in life means living with a kind of inner security. It's a shift from, what if everything goes wrong, to, even if things go differently than I plan, I will be okay. Life will show me the way. With that inner security, you approach opportunities and relationships with openness rather than clinging or anxiety. You stop trying to micromanage every detail of the future. Paradoxically, this often leads to better futures because you're cooperating with the universe's flow instead of fighting it. Trust allows you to dance with life, to partner with the quiet current. And as you'll see, a person who trusts deeply becomes almost magnetically attractive. Others sense their confidence and ease, and doors seem to swing open around them as if by magic. It isn't magic. It's the natural consequence of aligning your energy with faith instead of fear. The power of silence. Silence is perhaps the most underrated power source in a noisy world. We tend to think of power as loud, assertive, and visible, but consider the way a seed breaks open in the silent dark of soil to become a towering tree, or how the sun rises in complete silence, yet gives life to everything each day. Silence is the womb of creation, the space where insights are born and where our soul's voice can finally be heard. In the context of the quiet current, silence and stillness are not empty voids. They are active ingredients for manifestation and inner mastery. Many of us are uncomfortable with silence. We fill our days with chatter, music, news, constant input, perhaps because in the quiet, we must face ourselves. However, within that discomfort lies great treasure. When you willingly enter silence, you enter a sacred meeting with your deeper self and with the universe. Meditation is one doorway to this meeting. Even a few minutes of sitting in silence each day can start to transform your life. At first, you might meet a swirl of thoughts, but as you allow them to settle, remember allowing, you begin to feel a deeper rhythm underneath, the steady calm of your own presence, and maybe subtle guidance or intuition that usually gets drowned out by mental noise. Silence is also magnetic. There's an old saying, speech is silver, but silence is golden. When you develop comfort with silence, you emanate a peaceful confidence that others notice. Think of someone who carries a quiet presence. They don't need to dominate a conversation, yet when they speak, people listen attentively. Their words carry weight because they arise from considered silence. In negotiation or relationships, sometimes holding silence, truly listening rather than planning your reply, yields more information and influence than any argument you could voice. Silence allows you to hear what isn't being said out loud, to read between the lines, to sense the feelings and needs of others. In doing so, you can respond more effectively and compassionately. This is a form of silent mastery, leading without force. From a neuroscience viewpoint, moments of silence and doing nothing are when the brain integrates information and makes creative leaps. If you've ever had a brilliant idea while taking a quiet shower or walking alone, that's evidence. When the mind quiets, the default mode network, discussed earlier, can do its background processing, connecting dots in a way linear thinking can't. Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, and many great inventors valued sitting quietly with a problem and letting the solution bubble up. As one example, research on mind wandering and creativity suggests that giving your brain downtime, essentially silent pauses, leads to more innovative ideas than constant focus does. It's in these gaps that inspiration can speak. Spiritually, silence is where one often feels the presence of the divine or the whisper of intuition. Prayer and meditation across cultures emphasize stillness. In Christian mysticism, they say, "Be still and know that I am God." In the stillness, one may experience profound connection or guidance. Even if you don't use spiritual language, you can experience what might be called inner wisdom rising in silence. It might come as a subtle feeling about which direction to take in life, or a realization about something you need to heal, or a creative vision for a project. To the outside observer, you did nothing. You might have just sat on your porch quietly, but in that non-doing, a miracle of knowing occurred within you. Silence also rejuvenates. Constant noise and social interaction can drain our energy, especially for introverted types. But even extroverts need some quiet to recharge their minds. Taking deliberate silent breaks, even a short walk in nature with your phone off, or sipping tea in the morning darkness before the household wakes, can do wonders for your nervous system. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which, as science confirms, reduces cortisol and lowers stress. Your body enters a state of healing and recovery in such moments. Over time, A practice of silence can improve your baseline mood and health. You become less reactive because you've given yourself space to process emotions and thoughts regularly. Now, how can silence directly help in manifestation and achieving goals? It might seem indirect, but consider that after you've set an intention or asked for what you want, through prayer, visualization, or planning, there must be a phase of listening. If we're always in outgoing mode, asking, affirming, acting, without ever listening, we could miss the guidance that's trying to reach us. Silence is that listening phase. It's like planting a seed and then sitting quietly to observe subtle signs of its growth. In the silence, you might get a nudge to call a certain person or a sudden impulse to attend an event, and that ends up being the key step that moves your desire forward. Or you may simply receive reassurance, a feeling of peace that your intention has been heard and is in motion, which bolsters your trust to continue. In conversations or conflicts, practicing moments of silence can shift the whole dynamic. If someone is angry or you're in an argument, instead of immediately reacting, try holding a moment of calm silence, taking a breath. That pause can diffuse tension. The other person might feel truly seen and heard, or you might realize a more compassionate response. Silence can disarm hostility because it shows you're not interested in the ego battle. You're interested in understanding and resolution. To be clear, silence doesn't mean we never speak or act. It means we weave quietude into the fabric of our lives, using it as a foundation for conscious speech and effective action. Silence is like the canvas on which the painting of our life is drawn. Without the blank canvas, the colors would have nowhere to go. The quiet current itself could be thought of as an underlying silence, a profound stillness that carries all the world's motion. When you tap into that stillness regularly, you start to act from a place of alignment. Your words carry creative power because they're coming from depth, not superficial chatter. Your actions become more impactful because they're guided by an inner clarity achieved in silence. In embracing silence, you may initially confront some unease. That's natural. But soon, it becomes a beloved friend. You crave that quiet rendezvous with your deeper self. You realize that anything truly important in your life can withstand a moment of silence. There is no urgency so great that you cannot spare a few breaths of stillness to gather yourself. And in those breaths, the quiet current speaks. It guides you, refuels you, and reminds you that stillness is not emptiness. It is full of potential and wisdom. That is the magnetic, transformative power of silence. Effortless action and flow. Imagine a state of being where work feels like play, where you lose track of time because you are so absorbed in the task at hand, and where things seem to unfold seamlessly. This is the state of flow, often described by psychologists as a peak experience of effortless action. It's when you are in the zone. Perhaps you've felt it while writing, painting, playing sports, or even having a deep conversation. In flow, you are highly productive and creative, yet it feels almost weightless. There's a sense of joy and inevitability to your actions. This principle of effortless action is a core piece of the quiet current philosophy. It shows that maximum output doesn't require maximum strain. In fact, too much strain can block the magic of flow. The art of effortless action has been known for ages. The Taoists called it Wu Wei, as mentioned, literally non-doing, or doing without forced effort. It doesn't mean not doing anything. It means acting in alignment with the situation so naturally that it doesn't feel like a struggle. A modern parallel is the concept of flow state studied by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He found that people achieve flow when their skill level and the challenge at hand are perfectly balanced, not too easy, which causes boredom, and not too hard, which causes anxiety. In flow, the ego drops away, and action seems to do itself. Think of a surfer catching a wave. If they paddle too frantically or position themselves poorly, they'll wipe out. But if they time it right and then let the wave carry them, they perform amazing moves with grace. The wave does the heavy lifting. The surfer guides and enjoys the ride. This is a perfect metaphor for effortless action, aligning with larger forces, like the wave, and moving with them, rather than purely by your own brute force. One key to effortless action is presence. When you are fully present in the moment, not overanalyzing the past or future, you can respond optimally to the cues of the moment. Your actions become spontaneous and intuitively intelligent. Athletes often speak of being completely present and having their best performances as a result. The same applies in everyday life. If you are washing dishes, wash dishes with full presence. It might become almost meditative, and insights about your day could arise. If you are working on a project, give it your total attention, but also a sense of play, and you might find it flowing out of you. Whereas if you were tense and self-critical, the same work would feel like slogging through mud. Another component of effortless action is alignment with your purpose or values. When you do something that deeply matters to you, you tap a well of intrinsic motivation that propels you without feeling like drudgery. Have you noticed how you can spend hours on a hobby or helping a friend without feeling tired? But an hour doing something against your will drains you. That's the difference. When we align our actions with our inner truth, we get fuel from the quiet current itself. Life energy flows through us because we're on the right track. This might require making some changes in life to spend more time on what lights you up and less on what doesn't, or if certain chores are unavoidable, reframing them as part of a bigger picture you care about. For example, if you dislike paperwork, but it's part of building your dream business, remind yourself of the mission you love, and the task may feel less forced. Effortless action doesn't mean challenges won't arise. It means you approach challenges in a spirit of play and curiosity rather than struggle. It's like turning work into a game. Thomas Edison famously said, paraphrased, "I never did a day's work in my life. It was all fun." That might be a stretch for most of us, but it points to a mindset where you seek enjoyment or learning in whatever you do. If something truly has no element of joy or meaning, then perhaps effortless action invites you to question if you need to be doing it at all, or if it can be done differently or by someone else. Delegating or dropping the non-essentials is part of creating a life that flows. A practical way to invite more flow is through ritual and rhythm. Humans are rhythmic creatures. We have heartbeats, breath cycles, sleep cycles. Our work and creativity can also follow rhythms. Trying to grind continuously often backfires. You become fatigued and lose focus. Instead, work in pulses. For example, use the Pomodoro technique, 25 minutes focused, 5 minutes break, or any cycle that suits you to ensure you have moments of relaxation interspersed. Often, your best ideas come during the short break, not while staring intensely at the screen. That's effortless action in micro scale. Focus, release, like a heartbeat. Over larger time frames, balancing work and rest, doing and not doing is crucial. Take days off to recharge. You'll usually find when you return, you accomplish more in less time because you're renewed. This goes back to trusting that resting isn't falling behind. It's enabling leaps forward. Another important aspect, letting go of perfectionism. Perfectionism is a flow killer. If you are overly concerned with doing something perfectly from the start, you engage the inner critic and tense up. Effortless action, by contrast, has a quality of improvisation and iteration. It's okay to start messy and refine later. Think of a jazz musician jamming. They are not stopping mid-solo to critique a note. They ride the music. Later, they might practice to improve, but in performance, they let go. In your tasks, try setting an intention that, I'll do this with ease and see where it goes, rather than, it must be done exactly right or it's a failure. This frees you to actually begin. Half of success is starting, and to remain flexible. You might end up discovering a better method or outcome than your original rigid plan. The concept of least effort also comes into play. Indian philosopher Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita speaks of skill in action as yoga. And Deepak Chopra, inspired by such wisdom, wrote about the law of least effort. Nature's intelligence functions with effortless ease. Grass doesn't try to grow, it just grows. We too can tap into that state where our actions, while intentional, carry minimal friction. Often this means using the power of intention and clarity up front, then letting the details fill in. Set a clear vision or goal. That's your target, and then flow in your daily actions, adjusting as needed instead of rigidly forcing a specific way. You trust that as long as you keep the boat pointed generally toward the destination, the current will help carry you there, perhaps via a route you didn't anticipate. In summary, effortless action and flow is about reclaiming enjoyment and natural efficiency in what we do. It's not the absence of action, but action enlightened by joy and guided by an inner current. When you're in flow, you are tapping into something larger, whether you consider that the subconscious mind, or the collective unconscious, or divine inspiration. That partnership yields results far beyond what the grinding, stressed ego could manage alone. Life starts to feel like a collaboration between you and the universe. You show up and do your dance, and the universe provides the music and support. With practice, you'll find yourself accomplishing your goals with less effort, less stress, and more wonder. You become like an artist of life, each day a new canvas where your actions arise from a place of alignment and ease. This is living in the quiet current, dynamic, creative, and surprisingly effortless. Effortless manifestation. All the principles we've discussed come together in the idea of effortless manifestation. This is the culmination. The understanding that manifesting your desires, bringing your dreams into reality, can happen with far less strain and hustle than you've been taught. By practicing surrender, allowing, trust, silence, and flow, you set the stage for your intentions to blossom naturally, almost inevitably, over time. Effortless manifestation does not mean you never lift a finger. It means the entire process, from conception to fruition, feels guided, supported, and at ease. It feels as if an invisible wind, the quiet current, is at your back, moving you step by step toward what you seek, even as you also move toward it. At its core, manifestation is about aligning your inner world with the outcome you want to see in the outer world. Usually, we focus on the outer actions, make the calls, build the product, train the body, etc. Those are important, but without inner alignment, we often sabotage or slow down our progress. Inner alignment means your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and subconscious expectations all support your goal rather than conflict with it. If you want a loving relationship but subconsciously think you're not worthy of love, you'll emit signals of insecurity or attract partners who confirm that belief, undermining your manifestation. The quiet current approach is to work inside out. First, cultivate the state of being that matches what you want. Want peace and prosperity? Then start finding ways to feel peace and abundance in the here and now, even in small doses. This sends a clear message to your brain and the universe: I am ready and receptive for more of this. It also primes that RAS filter in your brain to notice opportunities related to what you value. You start to, coincidentally, meet people, stumble on resources, or think of ideas that move you toward your goal. Let's break down how to manifest effortlessly using the previous principles. Set a clear intention, then let it go. Begin by getting clear on what you want to create or experience. Be as specific as feels right, but also focus on the essence, e.g., a fulfilling career where I help others and am financially secure, rather than a rigid single job title. Write it down or visualize it vividly. Feel the good emotions of having it. This clarity is like programming your destination in a GPS. Now, the crucial part: release it. Hand it over to the quiet current. You've told the universe and your subconscious what you want. You don't have to obsess over it. This is where surrender and trust come in. You trust that your intention is heard and is germinating, even if you can't see it yet. Just as you plant a seed and don't dig it up every hour to check, you let it be, watering it with occasional attention and positive expectation. Stay aligned and take inspired actions. As you move forward, pay attention to nudges and opportunities. These are the universe's responses. Because you've set the intention, your RS and intuition will start highlighting certain things. Maybe a friend mentions a course that's exactly related to what you want to do, or you get a sudden idea in meditation to reach out to someone. These are inspired actions, action that arises from inner guidance rather than sheer logic or pressure. When you act on them, they don't feel heavy. They feel exciting, or at least meaningful. You might still need courage to act, trust again, but there's a sense of, this feels right when you do. These inspired actions, however small, often lead to big leaps. For example, deciding to attend a certain event might connect you to a future mentor or partner. Importantly, effortless manifestation is not passive. It's highly participatory, but in a joyful, almost playful way. You're like a treasure hunter, following clues that appear one by one. Remain receptive and allowing. Sometimes what shows up doesn't look like what you expected. Maybe the path twists. For instance, you thought you wanted X, but an opportunity for Y appears, which doesn't exactly match your vision, but somehow resonates. Allow yourself to explore it. The universe might have a more efficient or surprising way to fulfill your desire. Effortless manifestation often involves pleasant surprises. Perhaps you wanted a specific role at a company, but you get offered a different role that uses your talents even better. If you're too stuck on the original form, you might overlook it. By staying in allowing mode, you manifest the essence of what you want without getting in your own way about the packaging. Life may exceed your expectations if you let it. Use the power of belief and visualization, but gently. Visualization and affirmations are classic manifestation tools. In the context of the quiet current, we use them in a relaxed way, not as a desperate effort. Spend time dreaming vividly about your goal as if it's already achieved. Feel the emotions: gratitude, joy, relief. This isn't daydreaming to escape reality. It's priming your mind and energy. Studies have shown that mental rehearsal can actually improve performance and make attainment more likely by building neural pathways. Athletes do this, for example, mentally rehearsing a successful jump or race. When you visualize, you're essentially living in the frequency of your desire, which tends to attract the matching reality. However, after visualizing, again, let go and return to present contentment, or at least acceptance. We're not doing these practices from a place of, I lack this and must force it to happen, but from a place of, it's in the works and I'm joyfully anticipating it. Detach from the how and when. One of the hardest parts can be releasing the need to control exactly how and when your manifestation arrives. Effortless manifestation teaches that the universe might have a timeline different from your ego's, and that's okay. Often, things are being orchestrated behind the scenes. Other people's free will, optimal circumstances, which we can't calculate. If you push too hard on a timing that's not ready, you may cause unnecessary stress or even derail the process. It's like trying to force a fruit to ripen by squeezing it. You might ruin it instead. Trust the timing. This doesn't mean be idle. Keep taking your inspired actions and moving forward, but with a sense of patience and faith. Many times you'll find that what you desire comes at the perfect time, maybe just when you're truly ready to appreciate or handle it, not a moment earlier or later. Looking back, people often say, if I had gotten what I wanted back then, it wouldn't have worked because of X. It came at just the right time. Maintain gratitude and a high vibration. Throughout the journey, focusing on what's good in the now keeps your vibration, mood, energy high. Gratitude in advance for what you're manifesting is a powerful emotional signal of trust. Also, gratitude for what you already have creates a sense of abundance that attracts more. It's like telling life, thank you, more please. If you find yourself slipping into doubt or frustration, which can happen, we're human, gently guide yourself back with any uplifting practice. Recall why you started. Do something fun to raise your energy, meditate, or journal your feelings out to release them. Effortless manifestation doesn't mean you'll never have doubts. It means you don't feed them for long. You acknowledge them and then choose to refocus on belief. Acknowledge progress and synchronicities. As things unfold, celebrate the small wins and strange coincidences. They are signs that your intention is indeed moving. Maybe you haven't published the book yet, but you wrote a chapter. Celebrate that. Maybe you haven't met your soulmate, but you have a new friend who brings joy. Appreciate that. By acknowledging progress, you build momentum. Synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, are like winks from the universe that you're on track. Nod back with a smile. This playful engagement keeps you in the flow and the manifestation pipeline open. When manifestation happens effortlessly, it often feels almost ordinary in the moment, like, of course it happened, and later you realize how miraculous it actually was. You might catch yourself thinking, wow, everything just clicked into place. That click is the hallmark of alignment. Sometimes people say it's luck or divine grace. In our framework, it is grace, but grace that you allowed and cooperated with rather than blocked. It's the quiet current carrying you to the shore of your goal because you stopped thrashing and started trusting and steering lightly. One final note on effortless manifestation. It works best when your desires are aligned with your true self, not just fleeting ego wants. Part of the journey might be refining what you really want. You might start wanting something flashy that you think will make you happy, but as you practice these principles, you get more in touch with your deeper yearnings. Maybe you realize it's not the sports car you wanted, but the feeling of freedom and confidence, which could come from a simpler lifestyle change or a different achievement. So be open to your goals evolving as you evolve. The universe often brings you not exactly what you asked for, but exactly what you need. And when you've been living in surrender, allowing, trust, silence, and flow, you're ready to recognize and embrace what you need. That's the true prize of this path. Not only getting what you thought you wanted, but discovering a wiser, more fulfilled version of yourself in the process. Effortless manifestation, then, is both an outcome and a way of life. It's the natural result of aligning with the quiet current. When you live in harmony with these principles, life just tends to work out in almost uncanny ways. And even when it doesn't go as your surface mind planned, you find hidden blessings and growth that make it worthwhile. You come to see that the real magic was never in the specific things you got, but in the loving, empowering relationship you developed with life itself. That relationship of trust, co-creation, and flow is the quiet current, and it's always available to carry you onward. Stories of transformation. To further illuminate these principles, let's explore a few stories of transformation. Each is a parable, a fictional yet insightful tale about individuals who learned to let go and discovered the quiet current in their own lives. As you listen, imagine yourself in the story. Feel the emotions the characters feel, and notice how the shift towards surrender and trust changes their outcomes. These stories carry a gentle, hypnotic rhythm intended to speak directly to your subconscious, demonstrating that what might seem like miracles are actually natural results of aligning with effortless power. The river's embrace. Amara lived in a village at the edge of a great river. All her life, she had been fighting the current, metaphorically and literally. As a child, Amara would play in the river shallows, but she feared the deeper waters. She had seen the river's floods uproot trees and sweep away belongings, and so she learned to mistrust it. Likewise, in life, Amara believed nothing good came without a fight. She struggled for every small win, studying till exhaustion, working 2 jobs, constantly planning how to avoid any surprises. By her young adulthood, she was weary. Though diligent, she often felt life was against her. Every plan met with obstacles that she tackled fiercely, yet joylessly. One summer day, a drought struck the region. The mighty river shrank to a gentle stream, and the villagers panicked that their crops would fail without the usual irrigation. In desperation, the village elders decided to perform an old ritual to appease the river spirit, a legend long spoken of, but seldom heeded. Amara, pragmatic and skeptical, thought the ritual a waste of time. Instead, she led a group to dig channels and trenches, forcing what little water there was to reach the fields. Under the scorching sun, Amara toiled and commanded others, determined to save the crops by sheer will. But each day, the water level dropped further, and Amara's channels kept collapsing. The earth was too dry, and her body too tired. Frustration built in her like thunderclouds. "Why won't the river obey?" she fumed. On the 3rd evening, as the village gathered for the ritual by the dwindling river, Amara stood apart, arms crossed. The elders lit candles and sang a soothing chant that echoed in the twilight air. They spoke of the river as a living being, a friend. They asked for guidance and promised respect. Amara rolled her eyes. Talking to the river wouldn't fill it. Her eyes, however, were drawn to an elder named Soria, who stepped into the shallow water and simply stood there quietly as the sky turned indigo. Soria closed her eyes and breathed, as if feeling something deep beneath the surface. Amara felt a tug in her chest, a strange emotion she couldn't name. It almost felt like the river itself was whispering in the silence. That night, unable to sleep, Amara wandered to the riverbank alone. The moon was high, and in its silver light the trickle of water gleamed. Exhausted, Amara waded into the cool water up to her waist. She stood where Soria had stood. The mud squished between her toes, and the gentle current tugged at her legs. It was the first time in a long time Amara had stopped doing and simply listened. "What do I do?" she whispered, her voice trembling. She wasn't even sure who or what she was asking. In the stillness, a revelation came. The river wanted to flow freely, but she'd been trying to confine it with her trenches. The thought was so clear it startled her. Of course, the channels she dug were too rigid. They kept collapsing because they weren't the river's natural path. The elders' ritual wasn't about magic. It was about relationship. They were asking the river to show its own way. Heart pounding, Amara left the water and fetched a shovel. Under the moonlight alone, she walked along the river's edge further downstream, beyond the village's usual farming area. There, she noticed a low-lying meadow that led to the fields from a different angle. The ground was softer there. If the river overflowed here, it might naturally flood into the crops without trenches, she realized. It was a risk to trust the river to take that course. But a voice inside urged her to try. All through the night, with unusual calm, Amara gently cleared debris and made a few modest diggings in that meadow, not to force a path, but to invite the river should it rise. As she worked, she spoke softly to the river as if to a friend. "I'm sorry I tried to command you. We need you. I'm listening now." Strange as it felt, it also felt right. Just before dawn, Amara sat down, utterly spent yet oddly at peace, and fell asleep by the water. She awoke to a distant rumble and shouts from the village. To her amazement, the river was swelling. Upstream, rains from distant mountains must have finally arrived, sending a surge. Her first reaction was fear, a flood in the drought. What timing! But then she saw the water was indeed flowing into the meadow she had cleared. The earth soaked it up like a thirsty sponge, channeling it directly toward the fields in a gentle spread. The villagers ran to control what they thought was a dangerous flood, only to find it was blessing them instead. The parched fields were being irrigated naturally, evenly, without the trenches. The crops would drink and live. Soria, the elder, later approached Amara with kind eyes. "You listened," she said simply, placing a hand on Amara's shoulder. And Amara realized that for the first time she had, not only to the river, but to her own intuition. She didn't force the water. She worked with it, creating space for it to flow. In the days that followed, the village celebrated the saving of their crops, attributing it to the river spirit's mercy. Amara was humble, but inside she too celebrated, not just the crops, but the inner change. The river had become her teacher. She understood now that her old way, constant struggle, was like digging trenches against the natural flow of life. No wonder things had been so hard. Going forward, whenever a problem arose, Amara would remember the feeling of standing in the water under the moon, the sensation of listening patiently. Solutions often came more easily when she stopped thrashing and started flowing. She even found new passion in helping Soria teach others about respecting and harnessing nature's currents. Amara's face, once often tense and drawn, now carried a soft confidence. She had learned to trust the river, and in doing so, had learned to trust life, the archer and the target. In a small kingdom nestled between mountains, there lived an expert archer named Darius. He had trained since childhood with bow and arrow, winning many competitions. Darius was known for his intense discipline. He never missed a dawn practice and was always the last to leave the training grounds at night. To him, success was a product of effort and control. He believed that only by holding the strictest focus and never relaxing could he maintain his edge. And indeed, his aim was nearly unrivaled, except for one goal that eluded him, a perfect bullseye at 300 paces, a feat no archer in the land had yet achieved. This distant target became Darius's obsession. Every day, he would set up the target and fire arrow after arrow, pushing himself to exhaustion. But at that extreme distance, even his best shots landed just shy of center. A wise old Fletcher, an arrow maker, named Rowan, took notice of Darius's struggle. Rowan had seen many archers come and go, and recognized the strain in Darius's posture. The bowman's face was taut, his breath shallow with over-concentration. One evening, Rowan approached Darius as he was angrily yanking his near-miss arrows from the target. "You shoot with a furrowed brow and clenched teeth," Rowan said kindly. "Why so tense, lad?" Darius wiped sweat from his brow. "Because this task is nearly impossible. I must give it everything, absolute focus, or I won't succeed. There's no room for error." He loosed another arrow impulsively. It wobbled off far from the mark as he'd loosed it in frustration. Rowan picked up the arrow and handed it back to Darius. "Your arrows are true, but your mind is over-tight, like a drawn bow held too long. Eventually, the arm shakes." Darius bristled, defensive. "Are you saying I shouldn't try so hard? That I should just hope it hits?" The old man chuckled. "I'm saying that between effort and result lies a mysterious something. Call it grace, flow, the will of the wind. You cannot bully the bullseye into meeting your arrow. Sometimes you have to let the arrow find the target." Darius frowned, not understanding. Rowan continued. "Tomorrow at dawn, come to the eastern glade with me." "Humor, an old man's whim. There is something I want to show you that might help." Reluctantly, Darius agreed. He respected Rowan's craftsmanship, if not his philosophy. At dawn, instead of the usual target, Rowan had hung a small wooden hoop from the branch of a tree in the glade. It swayed gently in the morning breeze. "Shoot through the hoop," Rowan said. Darius sighed. A moving target now? He drew his bow, focusing hard on the swinging hoop, and released. The arrow zipped through dead center. Darius was surprised. It was easier than hitting a fixed bullseye somehow. Rowan nodded. "Again, but this time, don't aim. Just look at the hoop and let it happen." This sounded absurd to Darius. Not aim? He decided to humor Rowan anyway, if only to prove him wrong. He raised his bow, tracking the hoop. Instead of hyper-focusing on the ring, he softened his gaze, noticing also the leaves around, the breeze, his breath. For a moment, he felt a strange detachment, a calm, as if archer, arrow, and target were all one system. He released. The arrow flew true, straight through the hoop's center as it swayed. Darius had hit the moving target again, and this time with an almost eerie ease. He felt a flutter in his chest, a mix of excitement and confusion. "What did I just do differently?" he murmured. Rowan smiled. "You allowed it. You entered a flow with the target. Sometimes focusing too hard can be as bad as not focusing at all. A soft focus, a trust in your training and the moment can let something, intuition, perhaps, guide the arrow." Darius realized that when he didn't aim in the usual way, he actually became more present. He was aware of the wind direction, the slight angle of his bow, even the rhythm of the hoops sway without thinking about them analytically. His body and mind synchronized with the situation perfectly for that brief moment. Over the next week, Rowan instructed Darius in meditation and breathing exercises at sunrise before practice. This was unusual training for an archer, but Darius found it cleared the mental clutter. He practiced releasing his arrow at the exhale of his breath, a moment of natural relaxation instead of at the peak of holding tension. Each day, after these sessions, he approached the 300-pace target again. He noticed that when he stopped obsessing over the bullseye and instead visualized the arrow already at rest in the center, his shots came closer and closer. He began to feel when the moment was right to release. Sometimes he'd even wait a second longer than usual, sensing a lull in the breeze or a steadiness in his grip that wasn't there a second before. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it made a difference. One evening, under a glowing sunset, Darius notched an arrow and took aim at the distant target for what felt like the 1,000th time. This time, though, he was not straining. His mind was quiet, his heartbeat steady. He gazed at the target softly, seeing it clear, yet also taking in the golden light around, the silence of dusk, the peace he now felt inside. In that state, he released the arrow. It seemed to fly in slow motion, a glinting streak across the field. Thunk! The arrow hit, a perfect bullseye. Darius exhaled and a smile slowly spread on his face, not just because he finally did it, but because of how he did it. He understood now the balance Rowan spoke of, effort and grace. He had trained hard. That gave him skill, but ultimately it was letting go of over-control that allowed the culmination of that skill. It felt almost as if the target drew the arrow in, as much as the arrow flew to the target. News of Darius's feat spread, and he was asked by the king how he managed it. By aiming without aiming, Darius replied, which puzzled many, but those with ears to hear understood. Darius started teaching younger archers in the kingdom, but unlike before, he included lessons on mindset, breathing, and not overthinking. Do not fight the target, he'd say. Learn to dance with it. He became a respected mentor, known not just for his records, but for his wisdom. And in his own life, Darius began applying this principle outside of archery. In negotiations, he would state his piece and then remain calmly silent, often finding others bending in his favor with little further persuasion. His lack of pushiness made them trust him. In personal goals, he set his intentions, but gave them room to breathe, discovering that things often fell into place when he wasn't micromanaging every step. The archer's story shows that when you combine preparation with surrender, you achieve the impossible with ease. Darius's perfect shot happened when he stepped into the quiet current, that space where focus meets relaxation, where intention meets trust. In that space, miracles become natural. The Garden of Serenity. Lila was a young woman who inherited a small, overgrown garden from her grandmother. In her grandmother's time, this garden was a place of beauty and calm, where villagers would come to sip tea and find peace. But years of neglect had turned it wild. Vines choked the walkways, and weeds towered over the few remaining flowers. Lila, dealing with her own life upheavals, saw the garden as both a burden and an opportunity. She wanted to restore it to its former glory, hoping in doing so she might also find personal healing. However, the task felt overwhelming. She attacked the project with gusto, drawing up meticulous plans, setting strict schedules to uproot weeds, trim hedges, plant new seeds. Every day after work, she'd toil in the garden until dark, hands blistered and spirit flagging. She was determined to force this chaos into order. Despite her hard work, after 2 months the garden still looked rough. Some weeds always sprang back, and new problems arose. A section of soil was too acidic, and her flowers there wilted. A storm washed away many seedlings she had planted in neat rows. Lila grew increasingly frustrated. It seemed the garden had a mind of its own that resisted her will. Exhausted one hot afternoon, Lila slumped against the trunk of an old oak at the garden's edge. "I can't do this," she sighed, tears of defeat in her eyes. All her effort, yet the vision of a tranquil haven seemed unreachable. As she sat, Lila remembered how her grandmother used to spend time in this space, not working, just sitting quietly, humming to the plants. She remembered being a child, watching her grandma talk to the roses as if they were old friends. Lila realized she had been so busy imposing her plan on the garden that she never listened to or observed what the garden itself wanted to become. Perhaps restoration wasn't about making it exactly as it was, but nurturing it into what it naturally could be now. This thought was a subtle but profound shift. The next morning, Lila decided to do something novel. She left her tools in the shed and simply walked the garden slowly at dawn, with a notebook but no set agenda. She listened, to birds, to the wind, to her own intuition. She noted where the sun shone brightest and where shade persisted, which wild plants the bees and butterflies frequented. Perhaps not all weeds were bad if they invited life, which corners retained water and which stayed dry. She discovered, for instance, that the far corner where she tried to plant lavender, which likes it dry, was actually a damp spot. No wonder it failed. Meanwhile, many ferns were thriving there. Perhaps that corner was meant to be a shade garden with ferns and lilies instead of lavender. In another area, an invasive vine had overtaken a fence, but it also produced small, fragrant white flowers that perfumed the evening air. Rather than rip it all out, maybe she could trim and guide it, making it a feature. By aligning with the garden's natural tendencies, Lila's work became more of a collaboration than a battle. Over the next weeks, she fell into a peaceful rhythm with the project. She would spend mornings or late afternoons doing a bit of weeding here, a bit of planting there, but always with attentiveness and patience. If something felt arduous and not flowing, she paused and reevaluated. Is this plant really suitable here? Is there an easier way, perhaps waiting for after the rain when the soil is softer rather than breaking her back in dry clay? She started collecting rainwater for irrigation rather than fighting to keep the garden watered in heat waves, storing nature's gifts to use later. Slowly but surely, greenery and blooms began to flourish in harmony. One evening, a neighbor peeked through the gate and remarked, "Wow, you've done so much, and yet it looks like it's always been this way, so natural and balanced." Lila smiled. That was the greatest compliment. The garden's beauty looked effortless, as if it had simply unveiled itself rather than being forced. She hosted a small tea ceremony in memory of her grandmother, inviting those who had known the garden of old. Many noted an even deeper serenity in it now. It wasn't an exact replica of her grandma's design. It was different, but alive in its own unique way. Lila had incorporated a small koi pond where an old stump had been, and the gentle sound of water added to the calm. Fireflies had returned at dusk, dancing among the now well-tended shrubs and flowers. As Lila sat with her neighbors under the oak tree, she reflected on how the garden taught her allowance and partnership. In trying to heal the garden, she ended up healing something in herself. Her anxiety and need for control had softened. She found that when she stopped trying to dominate the land and instead co-created with it, not only did the work become easier, it became joyful. She often lost track of time while gardening now. It was her meditation. The garden responded in kind, rewarding her with abundant roses, herbs, and vegetables that seemed grateful to grow under her gentle care. One morning, Lila even found that a patch of wildflowers she hadn't planted had sprung up near the pond, as if nature itself added a finishing touch. The lesson of Lila's garden is that manifestation can be organic, with a clear intention to restore the serenity of the space and an open mind about how it would come to be. Allowing the intelligence of nature to play its role, the outcome was more enchanting than a rigid plan could have achieved. By not over-planning every inch and leaving room for surprises, the garden gained a touch of wild magic alongside its design. Lila carried this experience into other areas of her life. When faced with personal issues or work projects, she remembered to pause and listen to the soil, gather information, sense the natural course of things, and then work with that current. She found solutions emerging with less stress, whether in relationships, listening more, trying to understand others' needs, or in her creative endeavors, letting a story she was writing unfold rather than forcing the plot. The quiet current she discovered in the garden, a cooperation with the unseen forces of growth and harmony, became a guiding principle. In a way, she realized, her grandmother had been right all along. Conversing with the roses was as important as watering them. Love and receptivity were ingredients just as vital as sun and soil. Each of these stories, Amara with the river, Darius with the arrow, Lila with the garden, shows a journey from force to flow, from tension to trust. The characters found that when they surrendered control in the right way and engaged with their challenges through listening, presence, and gentle intention, solutions arose naturally. Their external successes, saving crops, hitting the target, restoring beauty, were mirrored by internal transformation, peace, confidence, wisdom. In their own fashion, each tapped into the quiet current of life and was carried to outcomes better than what struggle alone could achieve. As you reflect on these tales, consider your own life. Can you recall an Amara moment where letting go of resistance led to a breakthrough? Or a Darius moment where easing your grip improved your performance? Or a Lila moment where partnering with circumstances produced a beautiful result? These stories are not far-fetched fantasies. They are metaphors for the potential that lies in each of us when we apply surrender, allowing, trust, silence, and flow. Let their lessons settle into you, knowing that you too can be the hero of your own transformation story. The quiet current that guided them is already guiding you, whenever you choose to listen. Sacred practices. Knowledge of these principles is powerful, but daily practice is what truly anchors them in our lives. By engaging in simple, sacred rituals, we train our minds and bodies to live in alignment with surrender, allowing, and effortless creation. These practices serve as gentle reminders and tools for transformation, each one helping to shift your state of being toward peace, trust, and flow. You can incorporate these into your routine in whatever way fits best. Even a few minutes a day can create profound changes over time. Here are 5 sacred practices to cultivate the quiet current within you. Morning stillness. Begin each day with a period of silence and meditation. Before the world's noise pours in, gift yourself 10 to 15 minutes of quiet. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. As thoughts arise, simply observe them and let them drift like clouds. This practice grounds you in presence and primes your nervous system for calm. It's a daily surrender, acknowledging that before you rush to action, you will first be. In this silence, you might set a gentle intention for the day, e.g., today I move with ease and trust. Regular meditation has been shown to reduce stress and even quiet the brain's overactive default mode network, fostering mental clarity. Over time, you'll notice you carry a piece of this morning calm throughout your day, responding to challenges from a more centered place. Creative visualization. The practice of visualization bridges the spiritual and the scientific. Take a few minutes, perhaps right after your morning stillness or at night before sleep, to vividly imagine an outcome you desire, but do so in a relaxed, positive way. See yourself living that reality. Feel the emotions of joy, peace, or accomplishment as if it's happening now. For instance, visualize walking through a day in your dream job or feeling radiant health in your body. Immerse all your senses. What do you see, hear, smell? This technique programs your subconscious and engages your reticular activating system to notice opportunities related to your goal. It's important to remain detached while visualizing. You're not grasping for it. You're joyfully rehearsing it. Think of it like planting a seed in the fertile soil of your mind. After visualization, let go and trust that life has received your order. Many athletes, performers, and successful individuals credit visualization for improvements. By imagining the best, you train yourself to achieve it. In our context, you're also strengthening your belief in effortless manifestation by frequently visiting the feeling of it being done. Surrender. Journaling. Writing is a potent way to communicate with yourself and the universe. In the evening, or whenever you feel tension, try a practice of journaling that focuses on release and gratitude. You might start by writing down anything that is bothering you or that you're trying to control. For example, I'm worried about my career path, or I feel I must make this relationship work. Acknowledge these feelings without judgment. Then, in writing, offer them up. Literally write, I surrender this concern. I trust that the right solutions are unfolding, even if I can't see them yet. This is like a letter of release. Next, list a few things you're grateful for today, big or small. Gratitude shifts your focus to what's working and abundant. Research indicates that regular gratitude journaling can significantly increase overall life satisfaction, reinforcing a positive mindset. This combined practice of letting go and gratitude on paper serves as an emotional cleanse. It affirms your trust each day and leaves you on a note of contentment. Over time, flipping back through your journal, you may find that many issues you surrendered did work out, often in surprising ways, which will further reinforce your faith in the quiet current. Embracing silence, daily, quiet breaks. In our busy lives, we need moments to recalibrate. Make it a habit to take short silence breaks during your day. This could be as simple as pausing for 2 minutes every couple of hours to close your eyes and take deep breaths, or enjoying your cup of tea or coffee without any phone or screen. Just you and that moment. If possible, spend time in nature regularly, even a brief walk in a park or sitting under a tree. During these breaks, practice listening to your breath, to birds, or to the subtle sensations in your body. These pauses are like mini meditations that pull you out of autopilot and back into alignment. They help lower accumulated stress and remind you to release any mounting tension. Silence breaks also boost creativity. You may find that after stepping away from a problem and getting quiet, an answer pops into your head effortlessly, By valuing silence, you strengthen your connection to your inner guidance. It's in the quiet that the current of intuition often speaks. Treat these moments as sacred, a few minutes of pure being to balance all you're doing. Letting go ritual. Humans benefit from symbolic acts. They help the subconscious recognize shifts. Create a simple ritual to symbolize surrendering your worries or intentions to the universe. One example is the God box or universe box. Write any worry, desire, or anything you're trying to manifest or release on a small piece of paper. Fold it and place it in a special box or jar, physically giving it over to the care of the divine, as you define it, or the larger order of life. When it's in the box, you commit to yourself to let it be handled by a higher wisdom, refraining from excessive worry. Another ritual could be done with nature. Find a small stone and speak your worry or goal to it, then gently toss it into a river or bury it in the earth, symbolizing trust that the currents of nature will carry it to resolution. Some people like to use the phase of the moon, e.g., during a full moon, list what you're releasing and burn the paper safely as a gesture of letting go. During a new moon, list intentions and plant or save them. The specific method isn't as important as the meaning you give it. A ritual engages your senses and creative mind in the act of surrender. It can be surprisingly moving and freeing. Over time, as you see many of the given away issues resolve or the intentions manifest, your subconscious starts to default to trust rather than anxiety when new things arise. Each of these practices is a way of training the muscle of ease. They may feel subtle at first, but consistency is key. Think of them as watering the roots of a plant. You might not see dramatic growth overnight, but beneath the surface things are strengthening and aligning. Soon, you'll notice changes: a calmer baseline mood, quicker recovery from stress, more intuitive hunches, and a sense that you're supported by life. These rituals help shift your identity. You become a person who lives in harmony with the quiet current, who knows how to return to center when pulled off course. Feel free to adapt these practices or develop your own that resonate. The ultimate aim is that your day-to-day life becomes infused with moments of mindfulness, trust, and surrender, so that even in the midst of activity, there is an underlying current of peace. When you nurture that inner state, external circumstances begin to mirror it. As within, so without. Your sacred practices are like love notes to yourself and signals to the universe that you are ready to live in a new way, the way of unforced power, of effortless manifestation. Remember, this is not about doing it perfectly. Some days you'll forget to practice, or you'll feel too restless to meditate. That's okay. Surrender includes forgiving yourself and gently beginning again. Every moment is a chance to step back into the flow. Even listening to this audiobook can be a practice in itself. Perhaps you'll re-listen to certain sections as a meditation, or use the stories as prompts for reflection in your journal. Make it your own and keep it joyful. The more you enjoy these rituals, the more effective they'll be, because positive emotion opens you up, whereas treating them as a chore would defeat the purpose. In these practices, you are essentially doing what mystics and also high performers have done for ages, training the mind to be your ally instead of your saboteur. You are telling your nervous system it's safe to relax, safe to trust. And a funny thing happens when the mind and body feel safe. They unlock their innate intelligence and healing, creative capacities. Solutions emerge, energy increases, well-being soars. You've likely heard of athletes in the zone, or artists inspired by muse. That's what we're courting in everyday life. a state where you are at your optimum, not through strain, but through alignment. So, as you integrate these sacred practices, know that you are simultaneously receiving and creating, receiving guidance, peace, and support from the deeper source of life, and creating the conditions in which your highest good can unfold with grace. Day by day, you're cultivating your own secret garden of the soul, one where the quiet current flows strong and clear, nourishing every aspect of your being. Closing reflection and integration. As we come to the close of this journey, take a moment to acknowledge the transformation already underway within you. Through listening and reflecting, you have planted seeds of insight in your consciousness. Now, it is time to let those seeds germinate in the rich soil of your daily life. Closing your eyes, if you like, and taking a gentle breath, feel for that quiet current we have spoken of, the subtle river of peace that flows beneath your thoughts. It has always been there, and it's here with you now. Reflect for a moment on what resonated most deeply. Perhaps it was a line or a concept, the idea that allowing brings faster results than forcing, or that surrender is not weakness, but strength. Maybe a particular story touched your heart, or a practice feels like exactly what you need. There is no need to grasp at all of it. Trust that whatever is most relevant to you will naturally surface in your mind. Like a compass, your intuition will point to the truths that are ready to be lived. Integration means gradually weaving these truths into the fabric of your reality. As you step back into the world, carry with you a sense of sacred slowness and presence. There is no rush. The quiet current operates in its own perfect timing, neither hurried nor hesitant, simply attentive and responsive. You too can move in this way. When challenges arise tomorrow or next week, remember you have a choice: the old way of panic and force, or the new way of pause and flow. Picture yourself choosing the latter. Maybe you'll recall Amara standing in the river and decide to mentally step back and float through a problem rather than fight. Or you'll think of Darius releasing the arrow and realize you perform better after a deep breath and soft focus. Or you'll channel Lila in the garden, asking, "What's the natural way for this to unfold?" And listen for the answer. In those moments, you will be living the quiet current. Life will continue to have ebbs and flows, ups and downs. That is part of its beauty. But as you cultivate surrender, trust, and inner stillness, you'll find the downs don't sink you as they once did. You'll ride them out like a skilled surfer on a wave. And the ups? They become even more fulfilling, because you'll experience them with the full presence of an open heart, not dulled by worry or the next thing. Every experience becomes richer when you're aligned with your true self and the flow of existence. Take comfort in the science and spirit that back you up. Recall that your brain and body actually thrive in states of calm and trust, releasing stress hormones when you cling or fear, but releasing regenerative, feel-good chemicals when you relax and believe. Your physiology is on your side in this new way of living. And spiritually, whether you believe in a higher power, the laws of nature, or the quantum field of possibilities, know that you are co-creating with something immense and benevolent. When you do your part, set your intention, act when intuitively led, and then let go, the universe does its part, conspiring with you to manifest the best outcomes. You are not alone in any of this. You are intimately interconnected with all of life, and life moves with you when you move with life. In closing, let's envision integration not as a checklist of things to do, but as a gentle unfolding. Picture your life as a river journey. You are on a boat, but instead of frantic rowing, you have a sail. You've learned to read the winds of intuition and the currents of opportunity. Sometimes you adjust the sail, your actions. Sometimes you even paddle a bit when the wind dies, putting in effort when needed. But you never fight the river itself. You trust its course. You enjoy the scenery. You use your oars or sail to steer, but you also allow the water to carry you forward. This is how you are now choosing to travel. There may be bends and unknowns ahead, but you meet them with curiosity instead of fear, because you know something fundamentally calming. The same force that carries the river carries you. And when in doubt, remember this simple mantra: quiet, allow, trust. In any stressful moment, quietly whisper to yourself, allow, trust, as you exhale. Feel the immediate softening in your body and mind. That small act can break the cycle of reactivity and reconnect you to the principles you've absorbed. Over time, these words won't even be necessary. A deep breath might instantly remind you of your commitment to peace and flow. Before we part, let's revisit the heart. That initial feeling you had when you first imagined letting go of struggle and living more freely. Can you sense it now? Perhaps even stronger. It might feel like relief or hope or a kind of coming home to yourself. Fan that feeling like a warm flame. It is your inner knowing, affirming that this path is not only possible, but it is your natural state. Everything we've discussed, the surrender, the stories, the science, is ultimately guiding you back to your authentic self, who is powerful yet serene, capable yet humble to the greater whole. Allow a gentle smile as you realize how far you've come in understanding. Even if nothing external has changed yet, internally, everything has begun to change. You cannot unknow the ease that is available. You cannot fully return to a life of total forcing now that you've tasted the alternative. The quiet current will call to you whenever you drift into old habits. You'll notice the contrast, tension versus ease, and naturally gravitate toward ease more and more. This is growth. This is awakening. As this audiobook experience comes to an end, a new chapter in your life begins, one written not just by you, but by the loving interaction between you and life. Embrace this chapter with open arms and an open heart. Let the lessons marinate, let the practices gently reshape your days, and let the universe pleasantly surprise you with what happens next. You are the calm within the storm, the silent power moving mountains unseen. Your dreams are valid, and they are already on their way to you, on the wings of this quiet, unstoppable current. Trust deeply in that. When you wake tomorrow, wake with a sense of excitement, like a child on a grand adventure, because truly you are on one. The old struggle may have ended, but a new dance has begun. Thank you for allowing these words into your space. May you live boldly with a gentle heart. Trust the depth of life completely and create your world effortlessly in alignment with your highest good. Remember, the quiet current is always with you. It is you. Now, relax and drift into peace, carrying this wisdom within. As you move onward, may you flow in grace and thrive in ways beyond your wildest imagination. Good night, and blessed be your journey in the quiet current of life.